Good evening, everyone. It's social distancing with the chamber. I'm flying solo tonight. Glenn is not on. He started happy hour early, I guess. We're joined by a very special guest, longtime friend of the Arizona Chamber, Congresswoman Debbie Lesko. Congresswoman Lesko, thanks for doing the show tonight.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for everything that you do, Garrick.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Glenn and I have known you many years, going back to when you were a legislative district chair, then a state legislator, and now a member of Congress. It's been a crazy decade for you.
I know, and as all the elderly people used to say when I was young, time goes fast, and you know what? Now I'm elderly, so time goes fast, just like that. It seems like everything's going on. 2020 has been crazy too. I mean, I'm on Judiciary Committee, so who would have known I'd be in Congress, then be on Donald Trump's impeachment defense team, and then this whole COVID thing. It's been absolutely insane year.
Well, that's what I wanted to start out with. You're a fairly new member of Congress. You haven't been there forever and ever. Can you just reflect a little bit on what the job has been like, especially with these two really unusual events taking up so much of your time?
It's been the whole Judiciary Committee impeachment thing was just a huge battle. I think a total waste of time, because the Democrats knew that, the Senate wasn't going to get rid of President Trump. And so, it was totally political. That was very, very disappointing, because there's a lot of stuff we could get done together, working together, but it just drew everyone apart. And so, this coronavirus thing, if anything good comes out of it, there is some bipartisanship that is going on right now to try to get funding to the workers in need and to other people. And I hear a phone ringing in my background. Oh, well, that's the way it goes.
So you're back in the district now, but you're on the Hill. You're getting word that what looks like an epidemic is going to be a pandemic. So you're talking to your colleagues. What's the vibe on Capitol Hill when this issue really started to get rolling?
It's kind of mixed, just like it was in the United States and in my district. I mean, some people at first, it's kind of like, yeah, it's just like the flu, no big deal. 30 to 60,000 people a year already die from the flu. And then as more news reports came out, especially Italy, where you had nonstop coverage of people dying and the hospitals being overloaded, then people got more serious about it, including me. This has all happened very quickly. And then to have the government shut down the economy because they were afraid of people dying. I mean, I understood why they did it, but we needed to do something in Congress, and that's why we passed these different packages, stimulus packages. The last one was the biggest one. I supported it. And it's not like the other type of stimulus that has gone on in the past. This was because government mandated businesses shut down. And because the government caused it, for good reason, but the government caused it, these people deserve help. I mean, my goodness sakes, I hear from my office, people calling in, they're unemployed, they haven't been paid for weeks, they're trying to get unemployment insurance, they're getting denied, they're on hold for hours. And, it's nobody's fault, really. I think Governor Ducey is doing a good job, and I think President Trump is doing a good job. This is just very different situation that nobody has experienced in our lifetime, and the whole world is having problems. And so under these circumstances, I think President Trump and Governor Ducey are doing a good job.
Well, it's an interesting distinction. I think it's an important one that you make there. You were at a different level of government back during the Great Recession when you could talk about an overheated real estate market or a housing bubble. This is completely different. This is a public health emergency, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I remember back when I got elected to the state House of Representatives, 2 weeks in after I started, I didn't even know where the bathrooms were hardly. I had to cut the budget I mean, Jan Brewer came in and we cut the budget. It was a terrible year. I just thought it was, we were in special sessions on and off all year long. It was awful. There were people coming in that said that we were going to kill them if we cut their funding. Well, I didn't think it could get worse, but this pandemic has gotten worse. It's very serious. So my office is really trying to help people. We're partnering. I just got off a conference call with church leaders in my district that are really helping out in the community. They're partnering with hospitals, offering to provide healthcare workers and first responders childcare. They're doing blood drives. They're allowing their parking lots to be used for testing sites. They're delivering food to the people that shouldn't be going to the grocery store, like the elderly and people that have immune deficient system. And so people are really stepping up and really helping. And there is a business right here in Peoria that just got featured local. It's Tyr Tactical, TYR Tactical. They normally make like military type gear for the military, but then also law enforcement gear. And they're switching over to making N95 masks, filters and masks. And so they're right here in Peoria. So good things are happening.
That's encouraging. Okay, so you're a member of Congress. I would imagine at a time like this, you go into constituent service mode, right? You talked about your call with faith leaders. You've done a teletown hall with the SBA. Talk about that, what you learned on that teletown hall, but also just give us a flavor of the calls that are coming into your office.
Well, first of all, the calls coming into my office range is a wide range, and we've been helping people all along. I mean, I've told my staff when I was first elected and installed into office that my number one priority is customer service and helping people in our district, because that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And so now we're fielding hundreds of calls every week. They range from someone calling our office saying, hey, I'm out of work. I don't know how to survive. And so we guide them to the Arizona Department of Economic Security to apply for unemployment. Unfortunately, some of those people have called back and said, hey, they denied us. So now we're working with the governor's office to try to find out what kinks are going on there. We also hear from small business owners that want to apply for the Payment Protection Loan Program, which is now run out of money. And they wanted to know what banks are doing this, because their bank wasn't doing, providing these loans. They have all kinds of questions on that. We had people calling in that had family members stuck in foreign countries and needed our help through the State Department getting them back. We had lots of people calling in about the rebate checks that the IRS is sending out. They wanted to know how to get them, when they're going to get them, if they're eligible to get them. And so all those type of questions. And then, of course, there's people that need help for mental health issues. I mean, I tell you what, watching the news is just downright depressing. And I'm an optimistic person. And so if I'm getting depressed about it, I know that people that have, depression issues are getting depressed about it. So this is a really serious time. But that's what's going on. Now, I have been on, it seems like nonstop conference calls or video conference calls. I think I have pretty much mastered Skype, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and I don't know if there's another one, but those ones are, those ones are the best ones, I guess, or the ones most used. Yep. And the most common. There you go. Thanks for the help on the wording. And so I also wanted to reach out to the small businesses in our district and throughout the state, because I wanted to hear from them. What experience were they having getting the loans that Congress provided in the CARES Act? And it was a range. I have heard from businesses that have successfully gotten approval for their small business loan. Name is the Paycheck Protection Loan Program. And I just got actually a Facebook message. Yes, I answer Facebook messages too.
Yeah.
and it was a dentist, and he had gotten the approval. In fact, the money got deposited into his account today, so he was very happy. But then I just was on a conference call with the faith leaders, and one of the churches had applied for one of these paycheck protection loans, and they haven't gotten an approval notice. So they're like, does that mean they're out of money and I'm not going to get it? So those are the type of things I wanted to hear about from the small businesses. And I wanted them to know that our office is there to help them, and that I'm also want to transfer onto or tell Treasury Secretary Mnuchin when I'm on the next call with him what it is that we see on the ground here, not only with small businesses, but large businesses. I was on another conference call yesterday with other large businesses as well, and I wanted to hear directly from them as well as what's happening there in their businesses and how can I help.
You know, Congresswoman, I think you can tell from the type of calls you're getting into your office. We're hearing similar ones in the chamber network, is that it's terribly frustrating that some businesses have gotten the funding with really little heartburn. Others, they're in day 20, 25 of waiting, and they can't figure out what's going on. So the frustrations that you're hearing, we're hearing them as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yesterday, I was also on a call with the Surprise Chamber of Commerce and their members. And a lot of their members, I think it was like 70% or something to that effect, had not found their bank did not provide these loans. And so I said to them yesterday, I'm like, I was on a call with Mnuchin on Monday, and he said, we're going to run out of money by the end of the week. So I told him, I'd find a different bank if I were you. And I have a listing of all the banks on my website, which, by the way, is lesko.house.gov. And we have a listing of all the banks that we know of that are offering services. We also have all kinds of resources on my website, ranging from who's delivering food to who has food boxes, drive-through, to what can we do for small businesses, to how do you apply for unemployment checks, to what are states and cities doing. I mean, we have a whole bunch of information on our website. My staff's been doing a good job on that.
And you've got a great staff, and that's
I do.
Critically important. The Paycheck Protection Program, as you said, it was not a shock to you that the program ran out of money. You had hoped that Congress was going to inject more resources into that. Do you have any updates on where that stands?
Unfortunately, I don't. As you know, last week, the Senate Democrats blocked the Republican bill that would add another $250 billion to the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, the Democrats have said, yeah, we want to fund that, but we want funding for other stuff too. And so that's what's giving Republicans a heartburn. I hope it can be worked out. So what the Democrats are saying they want, from last I heard at least, is they want to add another $100 billion for hospitals and another $150 billion for the states and cities. Plus, they want to increase food stamp funding. Plus, they want to put some restrictions on the loans that are going out to small businesses. For instance, they want to set aside money just for like women's businesses, minority businesses, that type of thing. And so the thing that's causing a little bit of heartburn is we already gave the states and local governments, we've already allotted $150 billion for them in the last CARES package, and gave $100 billion to the hospitals and healthcare providers. And out of that $250 billion, only $30 billion has been dispersed. So how do we even know how much more money they need, if any?
Understood. And then I want to ask you one last question about what reopening might look like. The president today talked about a three-phased approach and really looking at things like hospital admissions, new cases, things like that, giving a lot of deference to governors. I'm curious just to get your reaction to that and what a reopening might look like once we get past April 30th.
Well, good timing. I just printed this off. So this was came from the White House, opening up America again. And I was just going through it after my last conference call that I had. We have to reopen our economy, but we have to do it in a safe manner. And so that's why I do think that it will be different in different states. And I actually was listening in to the governor's call that he had this afternoon. And he, I believe, is going to do a really good job working with his health experts and other businesses, which he's already listening to try to come up with a good balance. Because I do agree that people that are at risk need to stay sheltered. But there's some businesses that can open up as long as they can do the social distancing. I think in the guidelines it said we need to have good testing so that we know, especially for healthcare workers, are you positive or not positive, especially for healthcare workers in nursing homes. We need to know if they're going to infect the people in the nursing homes. That's really important. Yeah. So I'm glad the testing is getting a little bit better. I know that there's a backlog. There's in North Scottsdale, they're doing an antibody test. And I heard through media actually that there's like thousands of people trying to get this test. And so that may take a little while to come up and running, but it's come a long way. I mean, think about it, what we've done in just, a couple weeks. It's amazing what has been done, especially through the government. And I work for the government. But I know the government is very inefficient. The private sector is better.
I'm just curious, did you have a chance to fly back and forth while these different state governments were shutting down? What was it like to fly across the country? Was the plane empty?
Well, I only, the plane started getting more and more empty. That last time when they voted on the CARES Act, it was a voice vote. So I didn't fly back, and there was two reasons I didn't fly back. First of all, I wasn't feeling well then, and so the doctor advised me not to fly back. Smart. And second of all, I was told it was going to be a voice vote, and that somebody may, call for yays and nays, and then they were getting enough people there to have a quorum, so it wasn't necessary for me to go back. So I didn't go back then.
Safety first.
Pardon?
Safety first.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And safety for other people, too. I don't want, if I was sick, I didn't want other people to get sick. But anyway, speaking of that, this morning we were on a rules committee. I serve on the rules committee in the House. We were on a rules committee roundtable, and there's a discussion about what's the next step if we're in this social distancing thing for a long time. Are we going to do remote voting? Are we going to do proxy voting? And the Rules Committee Chairman, Democratic Congressman Jim McGovern, is proposing we do proxy voting. I think if we do any changes like that, we really need to wait till we're back into a normal session and the whole thing can go through committees and there be big discussions, because that's a big change with not having everybody there to vote on it.
Understood. And for those of us who are keeping score, assuming the House reconvenes, do you know what date has already been put on the calendar? Have they set a date for you to go back?
Well, the earliest date is May 4th. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, because I hear that Washington, D.C. is peaking out a number of cases, so I don't know that it's safe for us to go back there. Certainly, if I'm hoping that we get more funding approved for the Paycheck Protection Loan Program, and just like last time, they're going to try to do it by, unanimous consent or voice vote in the Senate to get bipartisan support. In the House, you may have, a member at any time can call for the yays and nays, and then you need a quorum there in order to get anything passed. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Congresswoman, you've been very generous with your time this evening. I know our viewers appreciate it. And just thanks to you and your staff for being so accessible. You've done a number of roundtable calls with the members of the Chamber of Commerce for the state chamber where I work, but also the local chambers in your district. So just thanks for what you're doing.
Well, I love the job. I mean, I'm not a big fan of living in Washington, D.C. in a small apartment that costs a fortune, but I love the job and I really like helping people. So if anybody's listening, our office number is 623-776-7911. We're there to help. And my website is lesko.house.gov.
Lesko.house.gov. Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, thanks for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.